If you've ever thought about trying to access international medical care because it seems more affordable and accessible in other countries, this video is for you. Today I'm going to be walking you through exactly what I did to get an MRI in Budapest. But before I get started, I think it's important to mention that I am not a medical expert. I have zero medical training and I am not here to give you medical advice. The purpose of this video is to share with you my own personal experience with medical tourism, specifically in Hungary, so that you can consider whether or not this might be something that will work for you. Hey, I'm Joey, and I am one half of doing grown-up stuff. On this channel, we share a lot of self-employed and travel content, including videos like this one, where we outline the steps that we took to book and receive medical care internationally. Hit that subscribe button if that sounds like something you might be interested in, and let's get started. All right, how to book an MRI in Budapest. Step 1. So the first thing I did when I found out how long it was going to take me to get on a wait list for an MRI here in the UK was go straight to Google. I'd heard stories of people going abroad for cheaper medical care, but I had never dug too deeply into it. I basically picked the first medical center that I found in Budapest that had a little British flag in the top corner of the website so that it would easily translate and I could understand what they offered and how much their services cost. What I found was Medicover. Step 2. As soon as I found Medicover, I called them right away. I hoped that they would have an English service, and I was really happy when they did. I explained my situation and asked if I was able to book an MRI as a foreigner. They were really helpful, and they connected me with the right department right away. Step 3. Once I was on the phone with the right department, and to be honest, I don't even know what the title of that department is, I just know that it was the place that talked about MRIs, they walked me through the next steps. First, they needed to see documentation in the form of a letter from my GP explaining that I needed an MRI. This was easy for me because I already had an NHS letter that indicated that I had an appointment in the future for an MRI, so I just scanned that and I sent it straight to the email address that they provided. Now, they were really prompt with their communication and they called me back right after I had sent the email, but I missed it because I was out of service. So it would be another day before I realized this and called them back myself. Which takes us on to the next step. Step 4. When I called them back, they discussed what kind of MRI I would need, and they told me that I would be able to book the service. At this point, they offered me the pricing for the procedure, and then they also offered me a few days to choose from for the MRI. I asked them if I could have a little bit more time because I wanted to see which days would be cheaper to fly on and how quickly I could get my stuff together in order to have this done as soon as possible. Step 5. I went straight back to Google and I used their flight checker to try and find the cheapest flight to Budapest within the near future. I also started weighing up different options for accommodation. Medicover was able to offer me either a Saturday or a Wednesday appointment for the week that I wanted to have my MRI done, and as expected, weekdays were much cheaper to travel on. So I called them back and I booked for the Wednesday, and I also made sure that I booked for the English translation service. I didn't need to pay anything upfront to hold the appointment, and that was it. My MRI was booked and it was just 5 days away. Moving us on to step 6. I received an email confirmation that outlined everything about the appointment, including the address, what to expect on the day, and 2 documents that I was required to print out and fill out and bring with me to the appointment. Spoiler alert, I forgot to print these out and I showed up empty-handed, but more on that later. Step 7. This one was the easiest of them all. I went straight back to Google and I booked our flights, our accommodation, and our transportation to and from the airport. We actually made a vlog of our 48 hours in Budapest, so if you're interested in watching that, I'll pop it up here on the screen and I'll link to it at the end of the video so that it's easy to find. Moving on into step 8. And we're actually going to jump ahead quite a bit now because the next step in this medical tourism process, aside from actually physically traveling to Budapest, was getting to Medicover. We arrived in Budapest, we got settled, we did a bunch of touristy things that I mentioned we vlogged about, and then on Wednesday we made our way to Medicover for my MRI appointment. The first thing we noticed was how clean and just genuinely lovely Medicover was. It felt like we were going to a spa. I've actually visited spas that were less nice than Medicover, which honestly blows my mind. It was so nice there. The check-in was really simple. They had these little machines that you walk up to, you put a bit of details in, it finds your appointment, you check into the appointment, and that is when you also pay for your appointment. It was at this point that I realized there were documents that I was supposed to print out and bring with me to my appointment. So I went to the front desk and I let them know that I forgot the documents, and they printed them out for me. They didn't scold me and they didn't charge me extra. So different from other experiences I've had within Canada and the UK, so that was really refreshing. Step 9. We were sent up to floor 2 where we were told that we could sit and wait for my appointment. They said that my number would be shown on a screen and that I could fill out my paperwork while I was waiting. At this point, I was about 45 minutes early for my appointment because, well, I thought there would be nothing worse than booking an entire trip to Budapest for an MRI and then missing the MRI appointment itself. So we were really early. I finished my paperwork about half an hour before my appointment was supposed to start, and as soon as I signed the last document, they called me in early for my appointment. Which brings us to number 10, which was getting the MRI. There were 2 technicians there who were super friendly and helpful. They both spoke English, and they led me into a changing room. I wore yoga clothes and I'd already removed all of the metal things that I had, like my nose ring and my wedding ring. So I didn't really make use of the changing room, but I did leave my coat and camera there, and the door did lock, which was good peace of mind when you're leaving your camera behind. They gave me little ear defenders while I was in the machine, and the MRI itself took about 15 to 20 minutes. And by the time I was walking out of the room with my CDs in hand, I was still 2 minutes early for my appointment. It just blows my mind. I walked out of Medicover 2 minutes before my appointment was supposed to start with the scans in my hand. Step 11. We flew home that evening and my results from the MRI were delivered in Hungarian the next morning. I was told that I could expect the English results within 10 working days, but I actually received them later that night. So just a little over 24 hours after I had the MRI, I had the results back from the findings. I can't even begin to express how shocked I was. I honestly thought that waiting 2 weeks was a reasonable thing to have to do. I had no expectation of getting the findings any sooner than that. I can't even explain how relieved I am, how relieved I was, and how much peace this has given me back. Knowing that it's not the worst case scenario, which is exactly where my mind was going because this came on so fast, that's given me back so much peace in my life. So this brings us to the conclusion. Do I think it was worth it traveling all the way to Budapest for an MRI? Yes, I really, really, really do. And if I could go back and do this again, I would 100%. Even though this was the right choice for me, everybody is going to be different. It is imperative that you do your own research and you weigh the pros and cons so that you can decide whether or not this is something that would be suitable for you. If you're interested in the cost breakdown, I've made a separate video for that, which goes over every single penny that we spent on our trip to Budapest, and it breaks it into 2 categories. The first being what I consider the non-negotiable costs. So the cost of the MRI, the English translation, the transportation, and the accommodation, and the cost of the still kind of necessary things like eating food out and, entertainment, but will vary a little bit depending on who you are and what you're interested in doing while you're in Budapest. That's all broken down in the next video, which is going to be short and sweet. So if you're interested in watching that, hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell on, and I'll see you in the next video. Here's something that YouTube thinks you would like to watch next, and here's something that we think you would like to watch next. Okay, bye.